It was past midnight in Lusaka, Zambia. The streets were quiet, but inside a small house, Ao's world was falling apart. Her water had just broken, the baby was coming. She shook Derek awake, hoping he would help her get to the hospital. Instead, he stood up, eyes cold, and slapped her across the face. "Go deliver like the animal you are," he said with disgust. Ao, full of pain and fear, begged him, holding her belly, trying to breathe through the contractions. But he didn't care. He opened the door and shoved her out into the dark night, barefoot and bleeding. The cold ground stung her skin as she crawled down the steps, one hand holding her stomach, the other trying to keep her balance. Her baby was still inside her, fighting to live. The pain was sharp, but the heartbreak was worse. The man she once loved had left her alone to give birth like a stray dog. She cried, not just from the physical pain, but from the shame, the fear, and the betrayal. Each step on the dirt felt like walking on broken glass. Her clothes were soaked, her body shaking, her heart shattered. But she kept moving, because somewhere deep inside, she knew she had to survive, for the tiny life still holding on inside her. No one was coming to save her. She had to save herself. The rain fell harder as Ao stumbled through the empty streets, her body heavy with pain. Her contractions came faster now, and her legs were too weak to carry her far. She couldn't see clearly through the tears, the blood, and the storm. Every breath felt like it might be her last. Just when she thought she couldn't go on, she saw a soft orange light glowing through the window of a small bakery. Smoke rose gently from the chimney, and the smell of warm bread floated into the night air. Ao used the last of her strength to drag herself behind the bakery, where she found a small wooden shed. She collapsed on the muddy ground, unable to move any further. Inside the bakery, Mama Zulu was finishing her day. She had baked all night for the morning rush and was just about to close when she heard a strange sound, like someone crying, but also gasping for breath. Curious and worried, she grabbed her shawl and stepped outside. Her eyes widened when she saw Ao lying in the mud, shivering, soaked, and clearly in labor. Without a second thought, Mama Zulu rushed to her side. "Stay with me," she whispered. "You're not alone now." She helped Ao inside the shed and laid her on an old mat. It was cold, dirty, and far from a hospital, but Mama Zulu didn't care. She had delivered babies before and knew what needed to be done. She boiled water, grabbed clean cloth, and held Ao's hand through every painful push. "Breathe, child," she said softly. "You're stronger than this pain." The rain beat down harder, but inside the shed, life was about to begin. Ao screamed as a wave of pain rushed through her, then, silence. A moment later, a baby's cry broke the stillness. It was sharp, loud, and full of life. Mama Zulu wrapped the baby girl in a flour sack and handed her to Ao with a smile. "She's here." "You did it," she said, her voice cracking with emotion. Ao held her daughter close, tears mixing with the rain on her cheeks. She looked down at the tiny face resting against her chest. In that moment, the pain faded. The fear disappeared. All that remained was love. "Nala," she whispered. "Her name is Nala. It means, gift." Mama Zulu nodded with a soft smile. A perfect name for a strong girl. Ao kissed her daughter's forehead and closed her eyes. But before sleep could take her, she made a quiet promise, one she would never break. "No one will ever call us worthless again. You hear me, Nala? No one." The shed behind the bakery wasn't fancy. It smelled of flour and old wood. But in that dark little space, something powerful had been born, not just a baby, but a fire. Ao's heart, once full of hurt, now burned with purpose. She didn't know how, or when, but deep down she knew, she and Nala were going to rise. And no one would ever throw them away again. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. Ao stayed in the back of the bakery with baby Nala, sleeping on a mat near the warm ovens. Mama Zulu let them stay without asking for anything in return. She gave Ao simple tasks at first, sweeping, washing trays, packing bread. But Ao was eager to learn more. Every time Mama Zulu needed dough, Ao watched closely. She asked questions, copied her moves, and practiced late into the night when the bakery was quiet and Nala was asleep in a basket beside her. Slowly, her hands became steady. Her bread rose just right. Her cakes came out golden. The customers started asking, "Who made this today?" And Mama Zulu would smile and say, "Ao." But Ao wasn't just baking. Her mind was always turning. She noticed how flour deliveries were late, how some rural bakers didn't get fresh supplies, and how much food was wasted. She began writing notes. Not on notebooks, because she didn't have any, but on the backs of flour sacks, using a dull pencil. She sketched out ideas, like connecting small bakeries to faster suppliers or helping village women sell their bread in cities. She didn't know much about technology, but she dreamed of a system that could help every baker in every village grow like she did. 3 years passed. Ao saved every coin she could. She learned about apps from a customer who worked in tech and watched free business lessons on an old phone. She built a team of smart, hungry women, many of them single mothers like her. With their help, Ao finally launched her dream, Nala Foods. It was named after her daughter, the tiny baby who gave her the strength to rise. Nala Foods wasn't just another bakery. It was a tech-powered food supply chain that helped rural bakers get better ingredients, sell their products in big markets, and grow their businesses. It used simple mobile tools, delivery bikes, and a big heart. At first, only a few bakers joined. Then word spread like wildfire. Within months, Nala Foods was serving hundreds of villages. By the end of the year, it reached 5 countries. Reporters came. Investors called. Women cried as they held their first paychecks in years. Ao stood in her small office, now filled with whiteboards, laptops, and the smell of fresh bread. On the wall hung her first flour sack, the one where she drew her first business plan, still faint with pencil marks. She looked out the window and saw delivery bikes leaving the warehouse, women in uniforms laughing and loading boxes, and her daughter, now 3, running around with flour on her nose. From the back of a bakery to the front page of magazines, Ao had done the impossible. Not with luck. Not with help from the man who left her. But with fire, faith, and flour. What started with crumbs had become a movement. And the best part? She was just getting started. Ao's life looked nothing like it did just a few years ago. From sleeping on a muddy mat behind a bakery, she was now stepping into a grand estate with marble floors, golden lights, and her daughter's laughter echoing through the halls. Nala Foods had grown fast, faster than anyone expected. It was now worth over $10 million. Investors from all over Africa were calling. News stations wanted interviews. Women from villages sent her thank you letters, telling her how Nala Foods helped them feed their families and find purpose again. Ao remained calm through it all. She had built this from nothing, and she wasn't going to let anything shake her. One morning, while reviewing applications, Ao interviewed a young woman named Kina for the position of office manager. Kina was confident, polite, and had all the right skills. She got the job. Ao nodded and moved on, not recognizing her at first glance. Kina, on the other hand, had no idea who Ao really was. She knew Ao only as the powerful, soft-spoken CEO who rarely smiled but treated her employees with quiet respect. In the office, everyone admired Ao's strength. Kina admired her too, even more than she wanted to admit. Then came the annual Nala Foods Gala, a night of celebration, dancing, speeches, and recognition for the hard work of everyone on the team. Kina arrived dressed in silver and nerves. She had heard whispers that the CEO would make a grand entrance, as she always did. As the music softened and all eyes turned toward the staircase, the lights dimmed. Ao appeared, walking slowly down the steps in a stunning blood-red dress. Her hair was swept back, her eyes calm, her presence unshakable. The room fell silent. Kina froze. Her heart dropped. Her legs turned to ice. She knew that face. That walk. That voice. It hit her all at once. Ao was Derek's ex-wife. The woman he had thrown out. The woman he called nothing. The one Kina had once believed was just a bitter memory in Derek's past. But here she was, not bitter, but better. Not broken, but powerful. Not forgotten, but unforgettable. Ao met Kina's eyes as she passed her on the way to the stage. She didn't stop. She didn't flinch. But she smiled, just a little, like she already knew everything. The message was loud without a single word. Yes, I know who you are. And now, so do you. Kina couldn't move. She stood still among the lights, the music, and the crowd of clapping hands. All she could see was Ao, standing tall at the mic, thanking her team, talking about courage, pain, and how every woman deserves a second chance. Kina realized the truth, she wasn't standing beside a CEO. She was standing in the shadow of a woman her man had once thrown away, and that woman had built an empire from the dirt. Kina couldn't sleep after the gala. Her mind replayed the moment over and over, Ao, in that blood-red dress, standing tall and powerful like a queen. Everything Kina thought she knew had just flipped upside down. She had always believed Ao was just the crazy ex Derek had mentioned once or twice. Nothing important. Nothing special. But now she knew the truth. The woman she secretly admired at work, the CEO everyone respected, was the very woman her man had abused and left behind. Kina had unknowingly taken Ao's place, and now, she was working for her. The next morning at the office, Kina walked in with her head low. Ao was already there, typing calmly at her desk, dressed in white, with her usual quiet power. Kina stood awkwardly by the door. Ao finally looked up, her voice gentle but sharp. Nice to finally meet the woman I was replaced with. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. The words hit like a slap. Kina wanted to speak, to explain, to defend herself. But nothing came out. She nodded slowly and walked away. 1 week later, something unexpected happened. Derek came storming into the building, eyes wild, face tense. He pushed past the receptionist, demanding to see Ao. Tell her I'm here. She knows who I am. Security tried to stop him, but he refused to leave. I need to talk to her, he shouted. I need to see my daughter. Inside her office, Ao heard the noise. She didn't even bother to stand. She kept typing, her fingers calm on the keyboard. Without turning her head, she spoke into the intercom. Security, she said, her voice clear, there's a trespasser in reception. Her tone was cold. Not angry. Not loud. Just final. Outside, Derek froze. Security moved in, grabbing his arm, asking him to leave. He kept yelling, his voice cracking. Ao, please. Just 1 minute. Please, I need help. I made a mistake. But she didn't come out. She didn't even look at him. To her, he was invisible. Just noise in the background of a life she no longer lived. The staff watched silently as the man who once called her worthless was dragged out of the building she owned. The same man who told her to give birth like an animal was now begging to be let in. From her office window, Ao watched security escort Derek outside. She didn't feel joy. She didn't feel revenge. Just peace. She turned her eyes back to the screen and kept working. Her empire was growing. Her daughter was safe. And her past was exactly where it belonged, outside, behind glass, screaming, while she moved forward in silence and power. Kina watched from the hallway, her heart pounding. She had seen two sides of Ao now, the kind leader, and the woman who rose from nothing without asking anyone for mercy. She realized that Ao didn't win by fighting. She won by building. By surviving. By thriving. And now, the people who once broke her were the ones left outside, waiting for a door that would never open again. Days at the Nala Foods office felt colder now for Kina. After the gala, after Ao's quiet but sharp words, something inside her shifted. She tried to keep working like nothing had happened, but Ao knew everything, even the lies Kina had told on her resume, even the rumors she had spread about other women in the office. Ao had stayed quiet, watching, waiting. But one morning, she called Kina into her office. The room was silent. Ao didn't shout. She simply slid a file across the table. Inside were copies of emails, false references, and complaints from staff. Ao looked Kina in the eyes and said, "You lied to get here. But I'm giving you a choice. You can leave, or stay, and clean up your own mess." Literally. The next day, Kina was in a janitor's uniform, holding a mop. No more desk. No more fancy title. She scrubbed floors while the staff she once looked down on walked past her in silence. Some pitied her. Others didn't. Ao didn't explain anything to the team. She didn't need to. Everyone understood, power isn't just given, it's earned. Meanwhile, Derek hadn't given up. After being thrown out of the building, he returned again and again, each time looking more broken than before. One afternoon, he waited outside the estate gates. As Ao and Nala stepped out of their car, he rushed forward, eyes full of tears. "Nala. I'm your father," he stammered. "Can I please just talk to you?" Ao held her daughter's hand tightly. Nala looked up at the strange man with confusion. She turned to her mother. Ao looked at Derek, calm, unbothered. "My daughter doesn't talk to strangers," she said. Derek's face fell. He stood there, speechless, as the gates closed in front of him. Later that week, Ao attended a large press event in Johannesburg. It was meant to celebrate the expansion of Nala Foods into 7 more countries. But when the host asked her what inspired her journey, Ao paused. The room grew quiet. She took a deep breath and said, "A few years ago, I gave birth on a muddy mat behind a bakery. My husband had thrown me out, called me an animal. A woman named Mama Zulu helped me. She gave me bread, shelter, and dignity. I named my daughter Nala, which means gift. She gave me strength." The reporters leaned forward, eyes wide. "I was told I was worthless," Ao continued. "Now, the people who said that clean my floors or beg outside my gates. But I don't hold hate in my heart. I just remember who I am. And I teach my daughter that silence and success are louder than revenge." The video of her speech exploded online. Millions watched, shared, and cried. Women all over the world saw themselves in Ao's story. She didn't just build a company, she built a movement. One that proved power can rise from pain, and that dignity, once stolen, can be earned back, stronger than ever. The camera moves slowly through the shining halls of Nala Foods. Everything is clean, modern, and full of life. Workers move with pride, wearing the company logo on their shirts. On one tall white wall, golden letters catch the light. The words read, "From betrayed to billionaire." It's more than a slogan. It's Ao's truth. Down the hall, Kina quietly mops the floor. Her face is tired, but her hands keep moving. No one mocks her, but no one forgets either. This job wasn't given to hurt her, it was given to remind her. Every swipe of the mop is a lesson in humility, honesty, and the cost of silent betrayal. Outside the glass doors, Derek sits on a bench. His clothes are worn. His eyes are heavy. Once, he threw Ao out barefoot into the night. Now, he waits just to catch a glimpse of the life he lost. No one speaks to him. He's part of the background now, unnoticed and unimportant. Suddenly, the door opens. Heels click on the polished floor. Ao walks out, dressed in soft power, her head held high. In her hand, she holds Nala's, strong, bright, and full of promise. They walk past Kina. They walk past Derek. Neither of them look back. As they step into the sunlight, Ao speaks softly but clearly. I didn't get revenge, she says. I got rich. That was louder. And with that, she disappears into the world she built from the pain they gave her, leaving behind a story that would echo for generations.